Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2019 GMC Yukon Denali. And many thanks have to go out to Canbo Motors here in town that lent this car out to me for a couple days so I could do a full in-depth review on it. Let's start off with what kind of separates the Yukon and the Yukon XL. The difference is that the XL is about 20 inches longer overall, and about 14 of those inches is going straight into the wheelbase. So that is the vehicle that you'd be buying if you are putting more people into the second and third rows. We'll address some of the issues that come across with the third row space later in the video. Let's start talking about this Denali with its unique engine, the 6.2 litre Ecotec 3 V8. With the basic Yukon, you're getting a 5.3 litre V8, and that produces 355 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. Not bad at all, but this 6.2 produces 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque, and it is genuinely frightening how fast this thing moves. For a vehicle that's so big and so heavy, the throttle pedal is really alert, and it is really enthusiastic to get off of the line. You can choose where the power goes, if it's two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive with this little dial down here. That's something that the most basic Yukon doesn't have as well. You have to option it up to be a 4x4 vehicle. Active grille shutters, these are great to make the vehicle more aerodynamically efficient, but then also on cold days they'll close up so they'll heat the engine up faster. Despite the size of this engine, it's very refined. I'm not feeling any sort of vibration coming from my seat or this whole central tunnel here. And when you're driving in conditions where all of that 420 horsepower isn't needed, the engine can cut off 4 of its cylinders, becoming a V4. And the only way that you can really tell this is when there's a little indicator here on the 8-inch digital cluster. You'll have a little green bar that says V4. And if you ever need to pick up the power, it immediately kicks back into V8 mode. There's no way of knowing when you're in V4 or V8 beyond that. It's absolutely seamless. This 8-inch screen as well is actually something that is unique to the Denali. You can customize it to show you different information, but you can also change the layout of it entirely. I like this mode the most. It just seems the cleanest, just my personal preference there. The Denali name has long been associated as the top trim for so many different GM vehicles in the past, and it packs all of the equipment that you'd expect, and then a few unique exterior touches. So we'll have the Denali badging and that big beefy chrome grille. But other things that are in this truck that maybe we should point out, we have the 8-inch touchscreen in front of us that features Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's a very snappy system. I'm very impressed with that. Down below we have all of these chunky buttons really laid out simply so that anybody can get in and immediately figure out where everything goes. A nice little trick with the screen is that if you press this button here, it will lift up and reveal a hiding spot. A nice little hidden trick if someone has never been inside one of the latest GM vehicles. Something else that GM is really pushing in all of its vehicles is its OnStar capabilities. Now this is an in-car assistant for any situation where you might need someone to help you. So for example, if you ever get into a crash, the OnStar will immediately call someone and they will talk to you and see if you're okay, see if you need the emergency services. If you ever need to program something into the navigation and can't figure it out, call them and then they will be able to set that information directly into your screen for where it is you want to go. Other things that are in this Yukon, we have heated and ventilated front seats, a heating steering wheel, all of the active safety equipment that you would expect to have. Also, that's the blind spot monitoring, the lane keep assist, the pre-collision warning. For this vehicle, it has been optioned up to have the adaptive cruise control, and then some other additional options that you have to pay for with the Denali are those Boss 22-inch wheels and these retractable running boards, which feel as solid as the car itself. With this V8 and its 10-speed automatic transmission, if you set it up with the trailer towing package, this vehicle is able to pull 8,100 pounds. And you have your trailer braking down here on the left-hand side. There is a heads-up display in this Denali, and you can change around all the information and the brightness and the positioning with these 3 buttons right here. Even on its brightest setting, I wish it was brighter, and it looks a little yellowy to me. It isn't the cleanest and the sharpest I've seen in any vehicle, but a very convincing argument that you could put onto a vehicle's heads-up display is that manufacturers don't want it to be too bright because they don't want you constantly readjusting to the road and then to that heads-up display. Could be strenuous on the eyes. For interior comfort, I'm 6'4" and I have a ton of space to move around my legs, my knees. I've got a good amount of headroom and good places to rest my elbows. The wood accents are very tasteful in here, and there's plenty of soft plastics and leathers around. Like I said, the seats are leather, and up here on the glove box it's leather. Here on the armrest as well, and then you can go searching for some harder plastics down at the bottoms, but that's kind of everything else in this class as well. I really find this an interesting touch, how we have the soft touch plastic down here where you're going to rest your knees, and then on the top it is a padded plastic as well. They still have the stitching that carries through on one side and the other. General Motors does something really clever with their heated seats, and I wish more car companies would do it, but you have a split between if you want to heat up your back or your back and your butt. Really clever feature, because if you're going on a long drive and you can have the hot backside that can be quite uncomfortable, you still need to get warmed up, then you can just have your back warmed up. That's brilliant. Great amount of storage space up here. We've got pockets along the sides and the door cards and this center tunnel. Addressing comfort, in the second row, I am very happy to sit behind myself. No dramas back there. And because there's no option for a fully glass roof, it does make that space back there quite dark. And with those third seats up, if you wanted to carry 7 people and all of their things, you might struggle to have the room for it. But again, if you need a bigger vehicle, you have the Yukon XL. And the cargo space behind the third row seating in that vehicle was twice as much as what it is here. Another awesome feature with this car, you have the hands-free lift back, so you wave your foot under the bumper and the whole lift back will open. You can also split the glass to make it easy to reach in and out for an item. Collapsing the third and second row seats is as easy as pressing some buttons. You have them along the side, so lifting up those seats is easier to get yourself into that third row. Just having these simple buttons really makes your life with this vehicle so much easier. Now, I can't get into a car and not comment on the driving dynamics. I am the drive guide after all. So overall impressions with this. The visibility out front is pretty good. In the back, not so much. Certainly could be better, but these are some really thick pillars that they're using. When it comes to in-town driving, like I said in the beginning, I thought the throttle pedal was comically alert. That's not so much as a complaint, but to tell you that this thing really can pack a punch. But when you're going down the highway, it's incredibly quiet and refined. The steering is heavy, but it isn't lethargic. Then the braking pedal is progressive and firm. And when you're driving along, it does start to feel smaller than what it actually is. And one thing that just continues to blow me away whenever I get into a truck or a body-on-frame SUV such as this is how quiet they are. Despite how large that frontal area is and how big the engine and all the vibrations that come along to it, it's so easy to cruise on a long highways drive in this vehicle. It has thoroughly impressed me. Like the Tahoe that it's based upon, the styling is very simplistic, big and blocky and squared off on all edges. If you're looking for a vehicle that has the capability of shifting a lot of people and a lot of things and provides a little bit of thrill to the everyday driving experience, I highly recommend you check out this Yukon Denali. Just with the short time I've had with it, I can very easily understand why it continues to be such a popular vehicle in the Canadian marketplace. Despite this Yukon being out for a few years now, I really do think that the Denali is still something that you should consider owning. Once again, thanks have to go out to Canbo Motors here in Canmore that were kind enough to lend this car out to me for a few days. Be sure to check out all their information in the description down below and on the lower left-hand corner of this video. And that's been everything from me. If you could do me a favor and like the video if you liked it, share it if you think other people will like it too, and if you hit that subscribe button, it does the world for me. Thank you so much for watching.